Welcome back to Springmer Homestead. I'm Nikki, and today on Mailbag Monday, we're talking about these babies, green tomatoes. If you follow along with us on Instagram or Facebook, you probably saw this past week that I went through and harvested all of the green tomatoes off of our tomato plants. And this is a question that we're seeing a lot in some of the different groups, Facebook pages, that sort of thing, where people have cold weather coming in and they're wondering, I've got plants loaded with these things. What do I do? Do I just let them all go? And surprisingly, there are a lot of things you can do with green tomatoes. So, of course, the first couple options are to try and keep your plants going. If you can cover them, that's great. If you can't cover them and they're in a grow bag or something like that, you can actually move them indoors. You'll have to get a light source for them to keep them going. But there are some different things you can do to keep them going. If that doesn't work, you can actually harvest the entire plant. Some of mine were 6 and 8 feet long, so that didn't really work. But if your plants are small enough, you can actually pull the entire plant up and hang the entire plant in a building where they're not going to freeze, like a garage or a shed or something like that. And they will continue to ripen. It takes some time, and some of the smaller ones sometimes won't. But you will get, at least the bigger tomatoes will usually turn colors and actually ripen all the way to red. If that's not an option for you, you probably have to do what I did and go through and actually pick them all. So I have tomatoes this size all the way down to little bitty. Some of the smaller ones usually aren't worth a whole heck of a lot unless you're going to do a recipe with them. But for sure, pick the big ones. You can set these guys in a box or paper bags, and they will ripen. Especially these, you can kind of see where they're a little darker on the top. They're going to develop the pigment that they need, and they will finish ripening out. It takes a little bit of time, and you do want to check them about every other day. Discarding anything that rots, because sometimes they will, especially when you're picking them. Sometimes you'll bruise one and they'll rot before they can turn colors. But you don't have to do it that way even. There are lots of great canning recipes and just in general recipes that you can actually use these guys for. Of course, when we see green tomatoes, everybody thinks fried green tomatoes. That's definitely an option. But I picked boxes and pounds of these, so that's probably not something that we wanted to do. You can make a southern green tomato pie. You can find the ingredients and directions online. I've had it once or twice when we lived in the South. It is something people do. Not a fan of the green tomato pie, but certainly that's an option. Now for canning, so much stuff. And if you go online and just put in green tomato recipes, you'll find all sorts of stuff. But I'll go over a few of the ones that we have. So this year I did something new, and I didn't bring them out because they're still in their 24-hour rest period. But you can actually slice these guys for later frying. I pressure canned mine. You can also water bath them. And there are a million things online that'll tell you they're good, they're bad. The National Center for Home Preserving actually does tell you that you can can green tomatoes. There is a chemical in green tomatoes that can cause problems if you eat too much of it. In my opinion, after I read all of the research that I could find on it, if you're canning them, some of that is leaching out in the water anyway. Before you go to fry them up, you're going to rinse them out and then bread them and fry them. And it's really no different than it would be if you picked a whole bunch of them and cooked them up anyhow. The big thing is you discard the stem and the blossom end, and then about 1/4 inch slices, and just plain old water. The information is kind of all over the place whether you need lemon juice or not. Green tomatoes tend to be pretty acidic. I did add a little lemon juice into mine just to make sure that we didn't have any problem. I was going to water bath them, then last minute changed my mind and pressure canned them. I probably didn't need the lemon juice at all anyway, but you can do that. For folks that like to pickle everything, you can do them like dill pickles. These are actually dill pickled cherry tomatoes. or you can slice them up. And these are very similar to like a bread and butter mix, but you can do sliced green tomatoes. These are pretty good on sandwiches. I didn't like eating them right out of the jar. I thought they were kind of gross, but on a sandwich, they're actually pretty good. You can turn them into relish. This is a green tomato relish. You can use it on, anything that you use regular pepper or cucumber relish on. Little more tart, in my opinion, a little more zingy. This one is a recipe that some friends gave us. It's a green tomato and apple chutney. So it actually got raisins and stuff in it. I did find this online. A friend, like I said, gave it to me, and then I looked it up to see if you could still find it online. Really good on meat. We like it on poultry. She usually uses it on things like ham and whatnot, but I thought it was better on turkey and chicken, in my opinion. The other thing that you can do, and I didn't bring a jar of it out, is green tomato salsa verde. That one is actually in the Ball canning book, and I think one of the tomato pickle recipes was also in the Ball canning book. So lots of different options there, lots of things you can do with them. I understand you can actually go through and chop them up and freeze them. I haven't done that, but there are freezing instructions online on what you can do with them, especially if you're going to use them for fried green tomatoes later. I did do that one years ago. It's just cut them in a sheet or cut them, 1/4 inch thick, lay them on a sheet, let them freeze, take them out, bread them, fry them. Pretty easy stuff. So there you go. There is my answer to what to do with all of those green tomatoes. Guys, don't waste them, right? If you've got a whole bunch of them, especially if they're little, like I was saying, some of like this plant had a ton of little tomatoes. That's where you break out some of these other recipes where you can chop them up real fine. Doesn't matter if it's green tomato, it's fine. And the nice thing about the green tomato recipes, you don't have to peel the tomatoes. You're never going to get these peels off anyway. So most of them is just chop them up as is and cook them. It turns out fine. So there you go. If you've got other ideas, recipes, suggestions, leave them down in the comments. I'm sure other people would love to see them. And if you've got other questions for me on an upcoming Mailbag Monday, leave them down below, and I'll be happy to add them to my list of to-dos. That's it for today for Sprague Homestead. We'll see you next time. Happy homesteading.